Let's begin.
Hey there, scary story fanatics. Welcome back to Cleaving Thought from Bone with your host, Sociopathic. Tonight, I figured we'd go on a bit of a time warp and pulled something directly out of my archives that I narrated about 7 years ago. So instead of a reboot, get ready for a deboot of a little story that I like to call Sweet Tea.
Mental schema. What is a mental schema? Well, a schema is a pre-formulated categorization technique that your brain uses in order to retrieve relevant information quickly. This allows us not to have to rethink a chair every time we see a chair. Our mind already has an abstract prototype for chair, probably developed at a very young age when you first encountered the object. Unfortunately, this cognitive process has detriments as well, which includes being more prone to making generalizations and stereotypes. It takes acute metacognitive abilities to avoid the pitfalls accompanying human schema. The smell of grease and chemicals hung thick in the air. The floor shined, however, as well as the counters, appliances, and everything else organized neatly about the kitchen. Walter sauntered from the back room, oven cleaner in hand. He set the container on the counter beneath the spice rack adjacent the commercial stove and prepared a solvent to degrease the gaping black pit that was the inside of the oven. Although the night was cool and clear, a humid wetness hung in the kitchen amongst the stale, uncirculated air. Walter knelt down upon the black and white tile floor and began to scrub the oven's innards. As he pushed the Brillo pad back and forth with ferocity, Walter jiggled and danced around in place a bit. I just want to get this done, Walter thought to himself. It had been a long day at the Potluck Cafe, busier than a typical Monday. This was good for tips, but bad for personal morale. While Walter was dancing and cleaning away, a tall, heavy-set man in white clothes and black hair entered the kitchen. The man eyed Walter for a moment, watching him vibrate and polish before bearing a grin and asking, "Hey, Walt, got ants in your pants?" The sudden voice surprised Walter so much that he slammed the back of his skull into the top of the inside of the stove as he tried to quickly turn around to lay eyes on the man whom was speaking to him. "Oh, man, what a night," Walter stated while rubbing the back of his head. "You okay? Didn't mean to startle you," the man said. Walter turned around to see his night boss, Larry, gazing at him with slight concern. "It's cool. No, I just gotta take a whiz," Walter said grumpily. "Listen, go to the bathroom and take off for the night. It's been a busy day, and you look like hell. I'll finish up here," Larry said to Walter, hoping to ease his weary soul. Walter thanked his boss before laying his solvent and rag next to the stove. The two took an extra minute to shoot the breeze before Walter exited to his car and Larry resumed work on the oven. It wouldn't be long before Larry finished cleaning, locked up for the night, and headed home himself. Jack woke to his alarm that reminded him of a fire alert blaring from within a burning building. As he rose from slumber, he noticed the time on the clock and realized that he must have hit the snooze button a few too many times. 7:27? Fuck! How am I supposed to make it by 8? It was Jack's first day at the cafe, and he was sure his employment would be cut absurdly short if he were late on his first day. Jack decided to skip his shower and went straight to digging for the uniform that he had acquired 2 days prior. Finally, with much determination, He located it in the back of the bedroom closet of his single-bedroom apartment. Shuffling the clothes over his naked body and grabbing a few things to be placed in his pockets, Jack nearly made it out the front door before he noticed the tags still hanging from his shirt and pants. He paused for a moment inside before walking into the kitchen, locating a knife, and releasing the bonds holding the tags to his new attire. Finally deciding that he was ready, Jack headed out the door and walked to the nearest bus stop. As time ticked by, Jack kept a close eye on his watch. He felt a strong release of early morning stress when he saw that the 55 was arriving a few minutes early. Jack waited in line for his turn to board the giant blue vehicle, dug exactly $1.25 in change from his front right pocket, and placed it into the machine at the front of the bus, next to the driver. He was able to locate an undesirable spot next to a stinky fat man, as this was the only choice left to take, and waited nervously to arrive at the Potluck Cafe to begin his very first day of work at the establishment. After everyone had boarded and he had closed the doors at the front of the bus driver hit the gas and pulled from the stop. Jack peered out the window past the fat man's large, bulbous head, trying desperately to stay undetected and avoid eye contact. Due to his fascination with the objects speeding by outside and his newfound pastime of avoiding conversation with the foul-smelling individual, before he knew it, the bus was slowing to a stop about a block east of the cafe's location. The streets seemed slow for a Tuesday. This was a promising sign for Jack, as he was hoping his first day wouldn't be too busy. As Jack approached the white and green building, his anticipations regarding the busyness of the coffee shop were met positively, at least for the time being, as only 4 cars sat parked in the average-sized lot on the eastern side of the building. He approached the wooden double doors atop the steps leading inside, and with a pull, he proceeded to cease his reign of unemployment and obtained the new label of waiter. He hadn't taken more than 2 steps before a tall, thin man with blonde hair motioned him into the back. He remembered thinking the guy looked a little bit like Chef Ramsay from Kitchen Nightmares. The man introduced himself as Alex and asked Jack about his commute. The man seemed pleasant enough. As Jack was getting to the part about his awful bus ride, Alex and Jack walked through the sitting area and moved into and through the kitchen, with Alex explaining and pointing out everything significant related to Jack's duties. Alex started with Jack helping him to prepare for the day by putting on a pot of coffee. As he did, Alex told Jack to brace himself for the day. Tuesdays are typically really busy. Robert and Rachel were on their way down School Boulevard in their shiny Ford Explorer for an enjoyable mid-morning brunch at the Potluck Cafe. It was 10:16 a.m., and they knew the little shop would be booming with business by now. However, this didn't matter. This was, for them, a weekly routine that each looked forward to. The added time for being served, due to the high numbers of customers, wasn't a particular inconvenience for the married couple of 37 years, as both Robert and Rachel were very much retired and had nothing else much to do. They arrived at the coffee house at exactly 10:22, and, as had been expected, the parking lot was nearly jammed full, with only 2 vacant spaces for which Robert to park his SUV. He chose the space near the dumpster. After the husband had placed the vehicle in park and turned the key to the off position, he grabbed the keys from the ignition, opened the driver's side door, and proceeded around the other side of the Explorer so as to open his wife's door for her. The couple then proceeded around the corner and up the steps to be greeted by a set of wooden double doors. After Robert opened the door for Rachel and let her pass, the couple stepped inside. "Jack, go wait on tables 3 and 7, and table 4 needs a large mocha," Alex said calmly to his new employee from beside the greeter's podium. Alex proceeded to table 3, took the various desired orders, proceeded back to the kitchen to place the orders with the chef and concoct a large mocha at the same time before proceeding to table 7, after dropping the drink off at table 4, of course. Jack was greeted by an older couple, looking as if they were in their late 50s to early 60s. The lady ordered a simple summer salad and iced tea, and the man ordered 3 eggs, a side of bacon, and a cup of orange juice. This prompted a scrunched look from the lady, which enticed the man to change his order to 2 egg whites with a side of wheat toast. After the lady had changed her demeanor to the former and thanked Jack for his service, Jack sauntered towards the kitchen to deliver the meal orders when Alex walked over to him and told him that Table 4 would like a new mocha and Table 3 would like to know where their order is. This was getting ridiculous. He was a fast learner, but this was too much. Maybe he wasn't cut out for the restaurant business. Jack walked to Table 4 to retrieve the cup and apologized for the mistake. He had apparently put too much mocha mix in the black coffee. Strange how not many people just order a regular coffee, he thought to himself, especially considering the congestion of the eatery. Before he made his way to the kitchen with the cup, he paused at Table 3 to explain the status of their order. Jack then proceeded into the black and white tile kitchen to prepare another mocha, hopefully one that was a little more acceptable this time. Before he could walk away from the kitchen, however, Alex came in through the swinging door and asked him about the drink he was carrying in his hand. "Oh, good, you've got another one," Alex stated. "There's a party of 4 at Table 10 who's been waiting for their drink order for about 10 minutes now, and the people at Table 7 look pretty thirsty as well," Alex proclaimed sternly, implying inquisition of the status of Table 7's order. "Sure, no thing, boss," Jack said to Alex, remembering to himself that he had forgotten to place Table 7's order. As Alex walked back out through the brown swinging door, Jack quickly fumbled for the order receipt in his pocket, a cup of OJ, and a glass of iced tea. Jack set the mocha on a tray and proceeded towards the counter. Frantically, he placed 2 glasses on the white surface and retrieved the OJ from the adjacent fridge. After completing this task, putting the OJ back in the fridge and grabbing another container half full of translucent brown liquid, Jack immediately poured some iced tea into the other glass. He remembered that Alex told him that the tea was unsweetened and that he would need to add 1 teaspoon of sugar to each glass of tea. However, Alex had not shown Jack where the sugar was. Jack anxiously scanned nearby locations. Knives, cutlery, no. Spices, onion powder. "Aha!" Jack exclaimed as he spied the white powdery substance in a mason jar near a large container of salt on the other side of the coffee pot. He promptly took a spoon from a nearby rack and proceeded to extract from the jar and add to the glass exactly 1 teaspoon of the fine particles. Jack placed the glass on the tray with the mocha, picked it up, and proceeded through the 2-way door. After he had hastily brought Table 4's second mocha and apologized once again, Jack rapidly approached Table 7 with their drinks. He apologized for the wait and assured them their food would be out shortly. After asking if they needed anything else, he walked away and contemplated proceeding to the bathroom for a few minutes for some respite from the day's affairs. Unfortunately, Alex stopped Jack before he could sneak away and reminded him of Table 10 before he informed him that Table 3's food had been ready while he was conversing with the couple at Table 7. Jack traipsed off to fulfill his duties he had agreed to do. Robert and Rachel were conversing amongst themselves about pretty much anything that happened to come to mind. Robert took a sip of his bright orange fluid before beginning to tackle his egg whites. Rachel took a small bite of her salad. As she did, she made a grimace as if she tasted something off. "Oh my goodness, this dressing seems way too salty. It's overpowering." Robert looked over at her and gave her a gentle half smile as she lifted her iced tea to take a nice long sip so as to wash the salty dressing from her palate. As the drink poured into her throat, she immediately noticed the sweetness of it. In fact, it was terribly sweet. She set the glass down and noticed the sweetness had grown even stronger, and without the presence of the drink in her mouth. Instantly after, the sweet turned into a heat, and the heat began to grow and replace any trace of sweetness still remaining. The burning grew hotter and hotter and began to become painful. She grasped at her neck and resumed her earlier grimace. Robert had been watching her and jokingly asked, "What's wrong? Tea too salty too?" He snickered. She looked at him with a seriousness that he had not seen in years. "No, I think I just drank acid," she choked out as her voice became raspier with each syllable. Robert's face grew grim with concern as his wife began to choke and seemed to be fighting for air. As she tried to stand, so did he. She fell to the floor. Robert rushed to his wife. "Honey, are you okay?" he asked desperately, but he got no response. All his wife seemed to be able to do is grunt in pain and clutch her face and neck. Fear seemed to have paralyzed Robert, and it was only when a pink, foaming substance began to arise from beneath Rachel's lips that Robert found his voice to shout for help. Alex and Jack rushed to the scene, but as they approached, they bore witness to the horror that unfolded before their eyes. Rachel was still on her back, with Robert panicking over her. The pink bubbles erupting from her mouth spurted out in spatters each time she attempted a cough, which was happening quite frequently. As she opened her mouth to either gasp for air, or attempt to scream, or cry, the skin at the corners of her mouth seemed to be tearing. Blood trickled from her nose, and red filled her eyes. Alex went to bend down and examine the unfortunate woman, but before he could, the woman let out her first and last painful shout of agony, interrupted only by the violent vomiting of fragments of her internal organs and related biofluids up from her mouth and down the side of her face. As the red and white slime oozed onto the floor and brought with it various special effects, such as creating hissing noises and smoke vapors. It popped and sizzled as it lingered in the purple carpet beside the table at which the couple had been seated, while Robert watched helplessly as the life slipped from his wife's eyes. The odd noises, the fog emanating from the vomit, and resulting dead body that lay smoking at their shoes was at the forefront of both Alex's and Jack's mind. Alex and Jack stormed through the kitchen door in a state of hysteria, with hearts and thoughts racing at an exponential rate. Alex asked Jack what may have caused the incident, but Jack exclaimed with authority that he had absolutely no idea what could have caused what they had just observed. Alex leaned against the stove, pondering while the rest of the staff handled the 911 call. As Alex scanned the kitchen, his eyes stopped at a spot adjacent to the stove near the coffee pot. Alex looked at Jack in horror and turned pale as a ghost, eyes wide in terror. What is it?" Jack inquired, as the boss stared at the spice rack and finally presented the possible explanation he had derived. One of Jack's mental schema had been changed. His mental categorizations now told him that, although they look alike, not all white, grainy powders are sugar. Some are oven cleaner.
Goes to show you, the sweetest beginnings have the most deadliest endings. But it doesn't end here. Make sure to stop back next weekend for more gore galore. And until then, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can catch you all again next Saturday.
Social media can be very unpredictable, especially regarding horror content. If this content gets removed, all new content will be simultaneously presented on various websites provided in the description to this video. Make sure to follow me in other digital spaces so that you never miss out on the terror. Also, if you like this video, make sure to leave a comment and hit the like button. It helps the channel a lot. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy what's here, consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you never miss an upload. Writing is a dream of mine, and it's all of you that make that dream come true.